Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk and my top 50 comedies. Comedies are not generally the type of film, I should say, that I gravitate towards, it must be said. Now, I'm doing this in conjunction with Cody Leach. He's also going to be presenting his top 50 comedies. We will also be doing our top 50 horror movies and our top 50 action films. On this list, you are not going to find many gross out kind of stuff. You know, you're not going to find your 40-year-old virgins or your bad neighbours or anything like that. When it comes to comedy, as with most films, I tend to gravitate towards ones that are more about drama. I think drama and comedy go very much hand in hand with each other. I think some of the best comedy comes out of drama and some of the best drama comes out of comedy, so that the two are very intertwined. So I will very much understand if a lot of movies on this list, many of you may say, are not comedies. Maybe they shouldn't be on this list. I don't know. But for me, personally, when I watch them, I get a lot of laughs out of them. I'm not going to talk about every single film on this list. I will just flash most of them up. But I will stop on ones that perhaps I've not touched on my channel before, or perhaps I feel like maybe deserve a mention or whatever. Just because if I did talk about every single movie on this list, then this video would be about 2 hours long. And bearing in mind I've got to do another one like this for horror and then action. Yeah, too much work to get done. So, with that in mind, let's get into it. My top 50 comedy movies of all time.
Steel flying saucer?
Critics are calling Ed Wood one of the year's funniest films.
It's science fiction, a heartbreaking romance.
Ed Wood is a really great Tim Burton film back when Tim Burton was a really great filmmaker. You know, it's got the typical central performance by Johnny Depp as he plays a real-life character of Edward D. Wood Jr., who is widely regarded in many circles as perhaps the worst filmmaker ever made. I'm sure that's not true, but it seems to be a badge he wore with honour anyway. Yeah, it's just, again, it's as much a drama as it is a comedy, but the comedy comes out of that drama. You know, it's a film about a man who, in every sense of the word, is a failure. But it's his constant sense of optimism and his drive and will to keep on going, keep on making his art, that produces comedy, that produces some of the funny moments, very heartwarming kind of humour. So yeah, if you haven't seen Ed Wood, check it out, because like I say, it's a very good film from Burton when he was on form, when he was at the peak of his career. We Bought a Zoo is a highly underrated film as far as I'm concerned. It's not going to blow you away. You know, I don't think it reinvents the wheel or anything like that. It's very kind of downplayed movie. It's just not a right lot happens in it, to be perfectly honest. But I really love the character interactions. I love how it makes me feel. It's a feel-good movie in every sense of the word. You know, it's written and directed by Cameron Crowe, who, you know, has done Jerry Maguire, Vanilla Sky, all that kind of stuff, Almost Famous. And I think this is probably considered one of his lesser works. But for me, I've rewatched this film multiple times, and I love the characters in it. I love the banter between them. There's some really humorous moments. This particular, you know, it's about these people who are trying to get this zoo back into business, and you know, you got one guy who comes, he's like a zoo inspector. There's a relationship between him and someone in the zoo, which I find quite amusing. Like I say, again, it's not belly laugh material, but it puts a smile on my face. It makes me feel warm inside from start to finish. I love the characters, so very underrated. Dumb and Dumber is probably the type of film that most of you watching would have expected to see more of on this list. You know, when you say comedy, I reckon most people probably think of this kind of film, you know, in which the jokes are literally the foremost concern of the people making the film. I do find Dumb and Dumber to be quite hilarious. I remember when it first came out on video, it was one of the films I would just watch repeatedly with my brothers, and we just loved it. It just made us laugh constantly. So many cracking jokes in it. The relationship between these two men children is just it's funny. It's tragic in many ways, but again, it's also quite heartwarming to see that actually these two people who are complete outcasts, really don't fit anywhere in life, still at least have a place together. But it's just, as I say, it is the film on this list that probably, with the exception of one other that I can think of, gives me the most genuine laughs. Like I say, it's the one that most people would probably consider, without a doubt, a comedy on this list, other than Ace Ventura, which had just popped up as well. Dumb and Dumber, really good time. Lego Batman movie is just a really clever movie. If you're a Batman fan, as I am, then there's so much in this film. It is rich with in-jokes and details that only die-hard Batman fans would get. And yet it is a film that also plays to general audiences really well. But it's just every line of dialogue, every little kind of nuance, stuff going on in the background with the detail, with all the Lego work. It's filled with moments of humour and really great gags. Yeah, fantastic comedy and a really great animated movie as well. Hot Fuzz for me is the weakest of the Cornetto trilogy, so that should tell you about the other films that are going to appear on this list. Because even though it's the weakest, it is on this list. It's a really great movie. If you've seen Lethal Weapon and Bad Boys and all those buddy cop movies that came out of the 80s and 90s, it's just, then you're going to get something out of this. It plays on the tropes of those movies in such a great way. But because it's set in England, there's a certain sense of quaintness about it. When they go to a village, it's how do you translate the Bad Boys inner city, big explosions kind of vibe to a little tiny quaint farming village in England? It shouldn't work. But it does, it's got great action in it, it's got moments of horror, but it's just hilarious. Crazy Stupid Love is one of my favourite rom-coms. I think it it kind of plays like a more sophisticated version of 40-Year-Old Virgin. The primary reason being that it does have Steve Carell in it, but he plays a very similar type of character, just obviously not played up for the laughs as much, in the sense that he doesn't. He's a married man, so he's not a virgin, but it's just this idea that he doesn't really know how to interact with women, or because he's kind of going through this separation with his wife, and he's thinking about putting himself out there, but he's been married so long, I guess he's gotten out of that habit of dating or anything like that, and he comes across Ryan Gosling's character. He kind of ends up teaching him some of that stuff. So like I say, it's got some parallels, some correlations with 40-Year-Old Virgin that just make it feel like there are ties between the two. But this is the much better film, I feel. It's less crass. It does play more on the drama of things, but it's very funny as well throughout. I like it because the relationships, the performances feel very natural to me, feel very real. It's a really good character-driven piece that just also happens to be quite funny. Adaptation is directed by Spike Jonze and is written by Charlie Kaufman, who obviously gave us the screenplay for Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Really great film. This too is a really great film. It's very funny, quite a clever film, as is often the case with Charlie Kaufman's script. The humour is again, it's found in the interactions between people and the situations that they find themselves in. But I find the big revelation for me is Nicolas Cage. I really do wish that Nicolas Cage would do more comedic stuff. There's another film of his that is going to appear on this list. When he does comedy, when he sends himself up a bit, I always think he's really great. I think less so as an action hero, I would say. I'm not saying he can't do action. I'm not saying he's not done some good action films. But when he does venture into comedy, I find that he kind of, finds his niche there. So he plays twin brothers in this, both writers. One a bit of a simpleton who writes cliched crap. The other a really struggling artiste who's trying to say something to the world, but he's always being undermined by the success of his, less artistic brother. I find all that stuff pretty hilarious, and Meryl Streep in this is pretty good as well, and it's quite amusing at times. So, like I say, another film that is primarily hinges upon the drama, but the comedy comes out of that drama.
For a killer good time.
What's that supposed to mean?
It's one of the...
I know that Knives Out is probably going to be seen by most people primarily as a detective thriller kind of movie, but it's just so funny. Like that, every piece of dialogue that comes out of people's mouths is filled with sarcasm and dark undertones that are just very amusing. And Daniel Craig's central character as well is, again, the way he acts, the way he interacts with all the different people, all the different characters, the way he kind of owns the room and outsmarts everyone is just, it's hilarious to me. I find that stuff a lot more comedic. It really makes me laugh a lot more than a movie like, as I say, Bad Neighbours or any of the numerous kind of over-the-top comedies, Bridesmaids, those kind of things that go for the easy laughs. I feel there's a film like Knives Out in which some real effort has gone into the dialogue, in which it's not just there for the laugh but actually brings out character and stuff like that. Just makes it all the more rewarding. And yeah, Knives Out for me, as much as yes, it is a detective thriller, yes, it has a lot of dark elements in it because it's dealing with murder, it's just pretty funny as well. Mr. Deeds Goes to Town is a film by Frank Capra, one of my favourite filmmakers. He just, yeah, you know, this is the reason things can be referred to as Capra-esque, and it's because he had a certain sensibility that was very positive, you know, very uplifting. You think It's a Wonderful Life, that's kind of the most obvious go-to film when you think of Capra, but he makes films that lift you up, that make you feel good about yourself, about life, about other people, and this is no different. You know, this is a film about a man who inherits a shed load of money. He comes from the sticks, and he's not really interested in money. He's not really interested in being wealthy, but he wants to do the right thing with the money, and he's got loads of different people, bloodsuckers, all kind of chopping at his heels to try and get it off him. And yeah, he ends up having to go to court as people feel like, yeah, he's not mentally equipped to deal with this wealth and should have it kind of taken off him. But through that case, through the court case, and through everything that's going on, we just get to see, the portrayal of a man who is defined primarily by his goodness, by his innate goodness. And it puts a smile on my face. Again, it's not belly laugh material. It's just from start to finish, I feel a warm glow inside. I have a smile on my face, and you know, it's a light-hearted comedy. Number 20 is The Apartment, which won the Oscar for Best Film in 1960. It is a really great film. Again, another character piece. But I love the relationship between Jack Lemmon's character and Shirley MacLaine's character. She's a woman who's very suicidal. He's a man who is renting out his apartment to business associates so that they can take their flings and do whatever they do. And yeah, when she comes around, and he starts looking after her and gets caught up in everything that's going on between her and his boss, and it's just, there's a lot of farcical nature about it. It's quite amusing seeing Lemon's character trying to juggle all these different aspects of his life, which is pretty stressful, whilst also trying to care for this woman. Again, it's heartwarming. It's also quite dark at times, but it's really amusing. A lot of comedy comes out of that drama. Heathers is a really black comedy. It's about as black comedies get. It's about suicide, murder, teenage angst, bullying, all that kind of stuff. But it's played with such irreverence and characters that are just, at times really mean-spirited, but also quite funny. It just walks that fine line of being distasteful, but not to the point of unwatchable. It's, yeah, if you've not seen it, you know, if you've seen Mean Girls and you wonder where a film like Mean Girls comes from, well, this is written by the brother of the director of Mean Girls, and it came a long time before it. This is the film that Mean Girls really is modelled on, but it's a lot lighter, I would say, in tone. This is much darker. It's got a great central performance by Christian Slater, who's quite funny as the psychopathic JD. It's, yeah, if you've not seen it, Heathers, one of the best high school movies ever made, one of the best non-John Hughes twisted kind of movies ever made. It's yeah, it takes all those tropes of high school movies, the John Hughes kind of aesthetic, and really goes dark with it, but in a very, very funny way. Another black comedy, which again is perhaps even darker than Heathers. It's from the pen of John Michael McDonough, brother of Martin McDonough, who we will see on this list very shortly. Yeah, it's a buddy cop movie. Again, in much like Hot Fuzz, you take a lot of the tropes of buddy cop movies and you apply it to like a British town, village, somewhere quiet and more rural. Only you throw Brendan Gleeson in there as the most sardonic, beer-soaked kind of bad cop character that you could possibly find, who over the course of the movie finds some humanity and reveals that actually he does have a heart after all. And then you throw Don Cheadle as the American cop that he's kind of forced to team up with reluctantly. And it's just, yeah, like I say, it's not for everyone. It's very dark. If you've seen 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, or, you know, any of the McDonough brothers movies, it's got that kind of black humour to it.
Not only black lads are throat eaters. And Mexicans.
I love their movies. I love the McDonoughs, and this film, as dark as it gets sometimes, is just hilarious. Whenever Brendan Gleeson and Don Cheadle are together on screen and verbally sparring with each other, it's just really funny. Number 8 is Frank. This is a film I stayed away from for the longest time just because I actually hate Frank Sidebottom. You know, not personally, I don't know the man, but that character, the persona, you know, I don't even know if anyone outside of Britain would know who Frank Sidebottom is, but I remember growing up seeing that stupid paper mache mask on TV and hearing the voice. It just always grated on my nerves. So why would I want to see a film about a guy who models himself on that guy? It just, yeah. I heard a lot of good reviews. The film had so many great reviews, but it took me a while to get to it because it just didn't really appeal. And then I saw director Lenny Abrahamson's other film, Room, which was just a staggering piece of work. Really great film. So, you know, I glossed over Frank again, had a look, and you know, the reviews again, like I said, tons of really great reviews. So I bit the bullet, bought it on Blu-ray, watched it. I was so glad I did. So it was not the film I was expecting at all. You know, when you look at the cover and this, that, and the other, sometimes you get a particular vibe off a poster or whatever. It's just not that vibe. It's like, from the moment the film gets going, it's just hilarious. Tragic in so many ways in at different points in the film. Like I say, again, I definitely veer more towards the black comedy, drama comedy kind of, dramedy type of comedies. This is no different. Like I say, it gets dark in places from a dramatic standpoint, but the humour that comes out of it from these characters, particularly Domhnall Gleeson's character, he's this guy who kind of latches onto this group and he wants to be someone of artistic value. He recognises they have artistic value and sort of leeches onto them in a way, but without realising that that's what he's doing. Just the way that the layers of the onion of this character are peeled back over the course of the film are just really great. They're highly entertaining, very funny, but as I say, quite dramatic at times as well.
Tiffany's coming over.
What happened to Tommy?
He died. Don't bring it up.
Tiffany! You look nice. How'd Tommy die?
No.
Silver Linings Playbook is a relationship comedy. You know, the relationship that kind of takes place between Bradley Cooper's character and Jennifer Lawrence's character. These are both people suffering from mental issues. That's rife in many areas to make comedy which would err on the side of distasteful, whereas here it's totally heartwarming. These are two people who are quite broken, come together and kind of fix each other through their relationship. The thing that sells this film for me is that relationship. It's the chemistry between those two actors, and there's a good reason these two have got together in multiple films. It's because they work well together on screen. I find a lot of their interactions to be quite hilarious, particularly a moment involving a dance sequence at the end of the film, which both times that I've seen it so far have literally reduced me to tears. There's a unexpected moment that happens during a dance sequence, and both times I've seen it, it floors me every time. Even when I knew it was coming, it still floored me. Just like I say, I had literal tears coming down my eyes from laughter, from just laughing that hard at it, because it just came out of nowhere. So yeah, that's probably the funniest moment out of any of these films, to be honest, for me. It's the one that just reduced me to tears because I found it that hilarious. As I said, Martin McDonagh does appear in this. He has already appeared on this list with 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, but In Bruges for me is still his best film. It's one of my favourite films of all time. I've done a video on this over on my other channel, The Movie Evangelist, as to why I think it's such an incredible film. But beyond all the themes that are explored in it, it's just ridiculously funny and very dark. You know, like I say, if you don't like black comedies, if you don't like humour that errs on the side of distasteful, then this film is not for you. But for me, I'm totally on board. I love the characters. I love the performances, particularly by Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell, and I just think their interactions together are absolutely hilarious. There are some lines of dialogue that, when they come out with them, you kind of question whether or not you just heard what you just heard. But as a result, it is really funny.
Lights.
Cue the sun.
Camera.
Yeah! Hey, Truman! Sorry, can't stop!
Truman.
Show isn't the kind of movie that is going to give you a lot of belly laughs. It's not absolutely hilarious, but it is amusing throughout, and there's a lot of really clever comedy in the film that kind of means something as well. You know, it takes a lot of pot shots at modern culture, at consumerist culture. You think about Truman's wife, played by Laura Linney, the way she's always trying to sell products to Truman, and you know, his kind of slow realization over the course of the film that that's what she's doing. And it's just, yeah, I love Truman as a character. I think the film is brilliantly directed by Peter Weir. It's one of my top movies of all time. It sits in my top 5 quite nicely. Like I say, it's just a great movie all round. Probably not as funny as a lot of other movies out there, granted, but it is described as a comedy, so I'm placing it here. It's one of my favourite movies. It sits at number 1. That's my list. What about yours? Like I say, Cody Leach has done one of these as well, so do head on over to his channel. Check out his top 50 comedies. Do comment down in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite comedies are. Let me know which ones on my list you enjoy most, which ones maybe you don't, which ones you agree and disagree with. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. There will be more to come. Like I say, we're doing top 50 horror, top 50 action as well. Look out for those. Thanks for watching this video, and until next time, cracking.